chasing a feeling.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Feels Out Loud, brought to you by Becoming Together Therapy and Wellness. This is your host, Tara Martini, along with host Becky McNattin. We're glad to have you listening as we live and share stories of mental health.
We are taking a journey today into an interesting topic.
We are.
The world of intuition. And it's one that I myself didn't always connect with mental health, but I've come to realize that intuition and nurturing this promotes mental wellness. Listeners, how many times have you heard the phrase, trust your gut, do what your instincts tell you, listen to your heart? If you have ever heard or shared these, we are referencing intuition in them.
Mm-hmm.
We are talking about the internal messages to self and whether we listen to them or not. So it's a deep topic, Tara, that you and I wanted some help wondering about. So today we're having Robin Melville join the show again. Welcome back, you.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So excited to have you.
It's been a little while, and we're really glad to have you here today. You are a human who has lots of thoughts and opinions about, well, maybe everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
Say, where's this going?
but about intuition. And so would you define intuition for us?
Oh, okay. We're starting with that.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of those things that is abstract, so it's hard to define.
Mhm.
But I heard someone say, you can think with three different things: your head, your heart, or your gut.
Mm.
And so, like you said, when people say listen to your gut, they're referencing intuition. I think it's almost a dance between rational thinking and emotion, but the two of them working together in just kind of having this knowing within you. And you can't explain how you have it. You just know.
Yeah, well, it makes me think about several weeks ago, we did a show on mind-body awareness with nutrition, and we talked about the gut as the second brain.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it is like another part of the way that we think. Why do you think intuition is important when considering mental health and wellness?
I think it's kind of like an inner compass.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Beautiful way to describe it.
it's like giving you a message of what you need. A lot of times we can think and rationalize things, but it doesn't feel right. And then there's kind of like I don't know what I did here that isn't right, but the intuition is kind of that guide that, we all have our own individual needs,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what you can follow for that one.
Mm-hmm. Tara, what would you say? Why do you think intuition is important when considering mental health and wellness?
Well, I think to go off of Robin's concept of looking at it as an inner compass, I think of it in a similar way. And to add to that would be, if you look at our senses, our five senses, we use that to guide ourselves a lot when we're on a journey.
All the time.
And I see intuition as that sixth sense in a way, right? We're
Yes.
using it to guide.
Mm.
We use what we see and what we hear and what we taste and feel to guide us. We also use that feeling that we have, that gut feeling, and just that knowing.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what that knowing is, but we do guide it, whether we're on a physical journey or a mental journey.
Mhm.
We use it to guide us to make those decisions.
Yeah. Well, and you bring up such a good point that intuition in that way helps us navigate emotions
Mhm.
as we might be experiencing them. It might even help us determine why we
Right.
might be having emotions. And from a mental health and wellness space, it may be a helpful sensory tool for assessment of those.
It can, and it can be used almost as a coping mechanism or a coping skill, right? To increase, to help us with self-awareness and things like that, to help us get grounded.
I totally get that. We're going to be talking really our whole show today on why is intuition important? What builds intuition? How intuition connects to the mind and body? All sorts of things. Such an interesting topic here with people who have lots of opinions. Right now, we're going to take a short commercial break, but stay tuned as we talk through nurturing intuition for mental wellness. Thank you for listening to Feels Out Loud. We will be back in just a moment.
You don't never need help from nobody else. All you got to do. Nothing to lose. In a world full of strangers, you don't know to trust. All you see is danger. I'm too lost.
Welcome back to Feels Out Loud, brought to you by Becoming Together Therapy and Wellness. I am Tara Martini along with Becky McNattin. Let's dive right back into our discussion on intuition.
Love this. Intuition is not just a flowery or magical concept, but is a product of the brain's emotional processing. It involves regions like the amygdala that can interpret emotional cues and past experiences to guide behavior and to help us make decisions. It involves this subconscious information processing, what we often refer to as gut feelings. We talked about this in the last segment, and can increase self awareness, promote personal values and actions that align with these. Definitely, it can serve as a personal compass. And we used this word in the last
we did.
just a few minutes ago and help us build trust within ourselves, which I think for me might be one of the biggest components of intuition, that it helps us build trust within ourselves.
For sure.
On the other side, certainly there can be facets like impulsive decisions, maybe even overthinking or anxiety that can be confused with intuition. And we're going to talk through all of it today. But I wanted to get started by having us each share a story of intuition. I would love for each of us to just say a time when we followed intuition against what logic told us and that it turned out to be correct. So, Robin, you go first.
Oh, I'm going first.
Yes, girl.
Okay. In preparation for today, was like thinking of different stories and examples, and I'm like, okay, I have a few that I could choose from, but I think the one that really stands out to me the most is a few years back, probably almost 10 years now. I was engaged, and it was a good relationship. He was a great guy. He was nice. Everything was fine.
Fine.
Yep. And I just started having this feeling of like, I don't know if this is right. And people, I'd maybe talk to my friends or my family, and they'd say, well, he's so nice, and you guys have a good time together, and they'd give all the reasons of like why it's going to work, why it's a good fit, and oh, you have cold feet, because we were about 4 months away from the wedding, and I, kind of tried to ignore it and think about it further and, rationalize, and, it didn't go away. And so after about a month, I decided this isn't right. I have to call it off.
Wow.
Trusted your gut.
Very difficult. Yeah. It was, I was the villain in a lot of people's story.
Yeah.
My parents really liked him too. And, like I said, great guy. And so I was the bad guy there, but I couldn't do it. I felt that like this is not what I'm supposed to do. Rationally, it would have made sense to stay for a number of reasons.
Right.
Emotionally, I did care about him, so I could have, justified it that way. But that intuition piece was like, no, we're not going down this path. And it was probably one of the best decisions I've made.
Okay, so it worked out. What a beautiful example of logic saying one thing, intuition kind of having this tug in a different direction that actually doesn't really even make any sense. And at the time doesn't make any sense, but with a knowing later on, it worked out. Tara, what about you?
Well, my story of intuition involves you.
Okay.
I had been teaching for 20 years, and that's the role that everyone saw me retiring in. And I woke up one day and was like, I'm going to leave teaching. And I am going to start this adventure with someone I've not known very long at all.
Yeah.
Who is starting an adventure of her own. And I think for me, I was very comfortable trusting my gut. It was more convincing the parental figures. Hey, mom and dad, I'm just going off of my gut feeling that I'm going to quit my career of 20 years for this new adventure, which involves going back to school and, working for this small practice. And they were like, okay. Okay, are you
You think
sure?
that's a good idea?
Yeah, glad you're going with your gut and intuition. But it just felt so right.
Mm,
When you look at it logically, it did not make sense,
mhm.
right? Like,
Mhm.
why would you leave,
Yep.
Yeah.
a career in retirement and all those things? But I think you trust it and your intuition is there for a reason.
Yeah.
And when it so profoundly says yes, you have to listen to it.
Mhm.
It's there for a reason. And I listen to it.
Yeah.
And my parents now go, that was the best decision you've ever made in your entire life.
Wow.
Hmm.
And at the time you didn't know what you didn't know.
Right. While also acknowledging what a terrifying decision.
Yeah.
And thank goodness it worked out.
Yeah.
But knowing, yes,
I think they like when it is when it's a terrifying decision, you know that it's your intuition because you
yes,
can't reason it.
Yeah.
yes.
Well, I picked an intuition moment that was just a daily life example
That's a great one.
where I didn't even know it was intuition at the time.
Mm.
So, listeners, put yourself first day of high school.
Oh, terrifying right there.
My
Yeah.
first day of high school, homeroom, and we had to show up to homeroom. I go into the room, and you could sit wherever you wanted. And I picked a spot in between two people that there was one empty chair. And I kind of knew one person. I didn't know the other person at all. And so homeroom teacher starts class and says, turn to one of your neighbors and ask these 5 questions that are on the board. Basic get to know you stuff. And I had logic that said, well, turn to the person who you know. You
Mhm.
remembered him from junior high. Or I could have turned to this person who I had no idea, but logic would say, turn
Yeah.
to the right, to the person who you would know who they are. Intuition said, turn to the left
Okay.
and talk to the person who's next to you. And that person became one of my best friends who became
Aw.
my husband.
I knew it.
That is how I met him.
Goosebumps everywhere.
That is how I met him. And had I turned to the right that day, I don't know if the story would have been the exact same. But I didn't know in that moment, even because it was so
Yeah.
in the second, and I just made a decision, but I followed something else than what logic said, and I know that. I was definitely more anxious, and you mentioned kind of, well, we sort of fear something. I was more anxious about turning to a person who I had no idea who
Yeah.
it was. But in these stories, what do you think we listened to? And how did you know to listen to it and not dismiss it?
Honestly, I tried dismissing mine.
Okay,
That's how I knew to listen to it.
because it didn't go away.
Right. I
Got
mean,
it.
it was like this huge decision that
Mhm.
everyone in my life is telling me, like, nah, that's just cold feet. And so I, tried not to listen to it. But I think it doesn't go away.
Mhm. I think it is, although you were young and you were in high school, you're still in high school, right? You had lived
Yeah.
a life.
Yeah.
We all were in different life stages, but we had lived a good amount of life. So I think it's our minds and our bodies saying, taking this combination of lived experiences and emotions and lessons we've already learned
Mhm.
and taking that and going, okay, we're going to take all of this within you and help guide you in decision making.
Mhm.
I'm glad you said that because that does remind me of the definition I thought of after I said the earlier
Go for it,
definition.
girl.
Yeah, go for it.
It's like the voice of our subconscious
Yeah.
because it does it
Yes.
takes all of those
It does.
stored experiences that
Yep.
we can't consciously recall. So
Mhm.
we're not going to be able to like share memories of
Mhm.
everything that influences us. But it's like our brain and our nervous system, our body still holds on to all of that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so it's bringing all of that into play too.
It's
Yeah.
remembering all the things that we don't have the capacity to remember.
Yeah.
And it's showing up for us in a time that we need it to show up for us.
Hmm. Yeah, I think for me, when in the moment, what did I listen to? I listened to that inner voice.
Mhm.
It was a voice that said, do something different. And how did I know to listen to it? I think it's been part of my just lifelong journey that maybe it's for humans all over the place. of trusting myself that even if I'm not okay, I'll be okay.
Mhm.
And that was, I used a subtle daily life example that there wasn't going to be anything awful that came from turning to the left and talking to a stranger. But I trusted myself enough that even if this doesn't work out, I'll get through that moment.
Right.
And I think I trusted that enough to not dismiss the thought, to take the risk.
Right. Now you have every listener to this radio show going, Lord, I am not going to avoid listening to myself for any dull daily moment because I could pass up meeting my husband or partner of my dreams.
Well, or what you guys both said.
Yes. A dream job.
The
Yep.
things that impact or shape us as a human being.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's our intuition, and you mentioned this, Robin, this nagging sense that became a shaping experience of your lifetime,
Mhm.
and one that built for you that I need to listen to me. You
Yeah.
need to listen to me. So that brings me to my question on what if your intuitive self and rational self are in conflict? And how do you navigate that? And for our listeners who are sitting with intuitive self and rational self might be in conflict,
Mhm.
how do you navigate that?
I feel like I chuckled when you said that because it just seems to describe my life.
Every single day.
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
I feel like doing this thing.
right.
Yeah.
Like, well, rationally that doesn't make sense, but
Yep.
let's see. I forgot.
Totally the nature of being a business owner here.
Mhm.
Intuitive self and rational self often are in conflict for me
Yeah.
too.
Mhm.
And navigating that, I would say for me, is sitting with a dialogue of them.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yep.
If I have time, I understand the subtleties of sometimes we don't
Mhm.
have time. We have to make a decision right then. But if I do,
Mhm.
I kind of let those parts talk. I think of that inner voice, but I also think of my rational self as another voice. And not that we have to have this unanimous decision making, but I tune into both of them.
And considering like the weight of what both of them are saying is pros and cons.
Mhm.
Because like you could have a lot of rational reasons and only like two from the intuition side,
Mhm.
but how much do those two matter?
Yeah.
And they could outweigh
Yeah.
all the ration.
Yep.
Totally.
I am a list maker. So I would do, you mentioned it briefly, I would make a pros and cons. And for me, you have to be aware, both of you kind of touched on it. You do have to be aware of if your intuition is the only thing on the pro list, you have to have your logical brain appeal to yourself a little bit. But if there are other items other than intuition, that says something as well.
Mhm.
But I think for me, just visually seeing that and then going, step by step and just really taking time to process and reflect if you have the time for it,
Mhm.
I think is really important because then you're making an educated decision if you have time to be able to do that.
Right. So where do you both notice in your body intuitive reactions?
Mm.
I'd say my chest and my stomach. Kind of just that when something isn't right, you feel it in your stomach, you
Mhm.
like have that people
Like an
say I have the
unease?
pit
Yep.
in my stomach.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just that like something's off. Um, and then if something is right, I kind of feel that like pull. Like I don't know, it's like a chest tension almost, but like
Okay.
an excitement of
Hmm.
like
Okay.
you know, you're approaching something that is going to be great.
Okay.
Mhm.
What about you, Tara?
I feel a very great sense of peace in my chest
Mm.
when intuition is speaking to me about, yes, do that thing. It's just a calm, which is rare. This anxiety-ridden body of mine.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I experienced too of there's something about a settledness. And
Yes.
as I'm sitting here, I'm trying to figure out a way. I'm a language person, listeners. You all know this. I love words, and I'm having a tough time thinking about how to describe the sense of settledness. It's like I'm rooted in the decision. It feels right.
Like confidence.
Yeah,
You're just like
even if it doesn't seem right at all, if it's like this, the logic would say, no, this
Mhm.
and this and this are the right thing. But I feel a settledness in the choice. And that I it's like I can embrace it.
Mhm.
I tend to notice the intuitive reactions in the exact same spots. Robin. And I start to maybe even feel agitation, like just
Like you want to
activation in my
go,
body.
like it's just pushing you towards something or away from.
Mm-hmm.
I think what you just said is so profound in that you are such a wordsmith, but the fact that you could not find words to describe
Mm.
that settled feeling is like you said it perfectly without being able to describe it.
Mm-hmm. Now, I will say probably all three of us have had intuitive warnings
Mhm.
that we might feel a very sudden, this is not the right thing.
Right.
Mhm.
That is also intuition.
Mhm.
We talked about where intuition felt peaceful. Intuition might come up and say, you need to end this, get out
Mhm.
of here, things like that. What do you think people might experience as an intuitive warning?
Well, I mean, my story was almost kind of that in like a this isn't right for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um I would describe it as like a just an unsettled feeling that if someone says like what's wrong, you can't answer because you don't know,
Mm.
but you just know something is off.
Yep. I would say for me, an unsettled feeling in the chest area, but just like an unsettled, kind of like an ick, like a
Yeah.
ugh. And an example of this, and it happens to me all the time, and I listen to it probably 75% of the time. And when I don't listen to it, it's correct. So I should listen to it. And every time I go, should have listened to it,
Huh.
is when I am going to call someone and I'll
Mm.
get an ick. As in, don't call that person because they're either going to like not be present or they're going to be crappy or whatever. And I don't listen to it, 25% of the time. And then they'll do the exact same thing. They'll blow me off or they'll be crappy. And then I hang up and go, why did I not listen to my intuition?
Oh.
But that happens to me quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you bring up an interesting topic then, because I hear this frequently from people. What is the difference between a gut reaction or feeling and an anxious thought?
I love this question.
Oh.
I have like battled with this. and
Yes,
it's
because-
So great.
Because what is the difference then between
Mhm.
intuition and an anxious thought?
Mm.
So, well, in the discussions I've had about this before, someone has answered like anxiety yells, intuition whispers. That felt a little too confusing to me.
Well, I could see that.
It makes sense, but I had
Yeah.
to let that kind of sink in.
Yeah.
Anxious thoughts create a sense of urgency and the sense of like I'm in danger.
Totally
I have to
agree.
do something right now. It's kind of like a act now
Mhm.
feeling.
That impulsivity part.
Right. Yeah. Like this has to happen immediately. Whereas like intuition, like you described, is just like this calm knowing, like a
Mhm.
confidence,
Mhm.
which is almost just like, oh, I know that this needs to happen. And I feel confident in that. And I'm going to do that.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Where it's like, it doesn't have that anxious urgency with it or that like almost panic mode idea with it.
Mhm.
For me, this might be simplifying it way too much. But for me, intuition does not have words.
Mm.
It's simply a feeling.
Okay.
Yeah.
And anxiousness has words
Mm.
behind it. There's direction. There's something attached to it.
Mhm.
And intuition is simply that peacefulness or that unsettled feeling.
Yeah.
Well, you two have me thinking about so many things. One is that for me, the difference between gut reaction and anxious thought is literally me asking myself, where is the feeling?
Mm.
Is it coming from my head
Mm.
or is it coming from a different part of my body?
Mm.
Anxiety, I might feel in my gut.
Yeah.
I tend to feel anxiety there, but the source or the message isn't coming from that. It's coming from my brain.
Right.
And for me, anxiety and anxious thoughts tend to have more of a cyclicality than a linear nature to them. So if I tune into the message and I've tried to practice in my adult life leaning into anxiety. I don't love it, but I try to say, is this more circular where I'm not really getting any clear picture from it? Or if I tune in and listen to it, am I getting direction from it?
Hmm.
And for me, that helps separate them. If I have time to do this, sometimes I just
Yeah.
respond, and it made me think about your phone call part. We just do it, and then after the fact, we have a reaction to
Yeah.
it, like, oh, I because we didn't listen to the
Mhm.
intuition. But sometimes this is so fast, we don't
Mhm.
have like hours or days to
Right.
ponder something.
Right.
But if given the option of that, those are some ways I tell the difference between, is intuition telling me this, or is anxiety telling me this?
Hmm. I
Uh,
also think it's helpful to be like considering the outcome of the thought or feeling. Am I feeling worried, or does this bring me a sense of peace, even if it's something I don't want to know to be true?
yeah,
If it's intuition, there will be that knowing aspect.
right, right. Because the anxiety might put us more in a spot of what ifing,
Hmm.
kind of creating scenarios where intuition doesn't do that.
Right.
That's a really good point, Robin.
I have a random question for you guys. Do you think there's people that don't feel a sense of intuition?
Yes.
Everyone take time. Take time to think about it. Robin.
I think there are people that would say they don't feel intuition.
Okay.
And I think that just, I don't like, they don't know how to listen to it. They don't know how
Okay.
to recognize it. A lot of times people who intellectualize will not hear their intuition
Okay.
Mhm.
because there's safety in rationalizing.
Mm. So maybe those people aren't categorized as big feelers either.
Yeah, probably not. Well, probably not on the surface anyway.
Yeah.
Or something that, they see.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, I would say everybody has intuition. So my
Mhm.
thought is that I see it more like a muscle, and some people choose
Yep.
to strength train.
Yep.
And that leads me to kind of like, well, how does your intuition speak to you? But I'll
Mhm.
let you answer first, Tara.
Yeah.
For me, it's, we might utilize that sense or not utilize that sense.
Mhm.
And if we're not utilizing it, we're not going to develop it.
Right.
What would you say?
I would say, just like you said, I think we all have it. It's a matter of, do we listen to it?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the more we choose to not listen to it, the more dormant it gets.
Mhm.
But it's still always present. But it becomes weak. But it's still there.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be a hard leap for me to say then that people who don't listen to it might start to struggle with that gap of trusting themselves,
Yes, huge.
which might lead to anxiety or depression,
Fear.
self-esteem. Yes, a
Mhm.
fear-driven life.
Yep.
How would you two say intuition speaks to you, and how might then listeners tune into their own?
It almost depends on the situation. I think it speaks to me in different ways for different circumstances. Struggling to think of like examples right now, but in the story I told, that one was kind of like it spoke to me over a long period of time. Like it kept kind of coming back.
Mm-hmm.
There are other times where it feels like it speaks to me in just it might look like an impulsive decision, which, might be an impulsive decision, but it's just like, I'm going to do this. And because it feels right, it's almost like a flash of lightning.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of depends for me.
I think so. I'm huge on intuition. As far as
No.
building, I know, it's very shocking. So because I'm such a believer in it, and I think it is something that you can build, like you said, like a muscle that you strengthen. Um, it is something that I practice improving and strengthening. And so it's one, um, I'm very, work on being attuned with that gut feeling of peace or anxiousness.
Mm-hmm.
But then I also, and I know this sounds very cheesy, but I also think there's power in, just like when you manifest things, there's power in saying it out loud.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so when I do listen to it, or acknowledge it, so I'll say, yes, I hear you. right? Or, okay, I'm not going to do this. And I know that might sound odd, but I think then it just validates it as in, okay, I'm doing this and it's strengthening it, it's
Mhm.
acknowledging. Um, and then it continues to guide me in my decision making.
That's a really good point.
And it hasn't, you know,
Well, for me, I have used you said several minutes ago, Robin, intuition whispers to you.
mhm,
I have used that phrase often. And for me, intuition speaks to me like that. I
mhm.
have said to many people, how can then we practice if intuition whispers to us, giving it the karaoke mic
Hmm.
and amplifying it?
Love that.
And I am a karaoke human.
Oh, girl, yes, you are.
Yes. So, how can we then amplify that voice
Mhm.
so we learn it a little more? And for me, one of the best things that I can think of to convey is reflection. When you have a moment where something felt right, think about what it felt like in you.
Mhm,
And so that might involve this body scanning that we've talked
mhm.
about, paying attention to this physical sensation of where we noted it. But in my mind, listeners, it would be you sitting with, why did this feel so right? What made this feel settled or peaceful? Or how did I know? How did I know the knowing? And in the moments where it felt that way,
Mhm.
I think lots of times society wants to focus on the times where something didn't
Right.
feel a certain way,
Yep.
but it's hard for us to reflect on the experience when it's the absence of it.
Well, because then if you do what you just said, because then the next time you're going to recognize it faster.
Yes, because to me, it's then reviewing those gut feelings and helping build trust in ourselves that
Yes.
one, it existed, that
Mhm.
you noticed it, so you'll be able to notice it in the future, but then believe that that led you to an outcome that felt right.
Yes.
Uh, to me, that's how we can start to figure out, well, one, it's talking,
Mhm.
and two, what's it saying? From a spot that's kind of strengths based. I definitely think, and Robin, you're a meditation human.
Yeah, I was going there already.
Yeah. So say more about that as a way to tap into
Yeah.
intuition.
I've seen a lot of things and I do love meditation. I know people hear that word and are kind of like, "Oh, I'm not just going to sit still and be quiet for a long period of time." Which yes, that's difficult, but there are different ways to meditate and
Mhm.
mindfulness too could be going outside and walking in the trees. But something that brings you into the present moment, and I think the biggest component for me is like quieting that mind. So,
Mm.
um there's a quote that says like quiet the mind to hear the soul, and
Ah,
it's just about being able to quiet your kind of like endless thought train,
yeah,
right? And we're also constantly rationalizing things.
right.
And for me, sometimes if I do too much reflection, I can get stuck in my own head of like
Hmm.
analyzing, and that almost like makes it more difficult to recognize.
Mm.
So there are times where I think almost like setting it down and doing something else that brings you into the present moment, that's when I've noticed like, oh, I can actually hear intuition better right now
Mm.
because I'm not looking directly at it. I'm not trying, I'm not actively trying to figure something out. It's coming to me.
Ah, that's a beautiful way to
Mm.
describe it. I totally get that.
I love that. It's coming to me.
And makes me think about how then doing that and fostering or cultivating intuition would improve mental health.
Oh, definitely.
Mhm.
I think you would have lots to say about how mindfulness as a perspective impacts
Hmm.
mental health in very positive ways.
Yeah.
How would you two say that intuition promotes self-awareness?
I mean, it it's kind of the act of listening to yourself. Like
It's true. Yes,
It
it
is.
is self-awareness.
yes.
Yeah. That's a perfect way to describe it. I think it's just an act of self-awareness in that, and through self-awareness, you're improving your mental health in that. I think having, like you said, that act of listening and being more self-aware and strengthening your intuition, I think also shows you it's almost like you're taking power over your mental health,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I think we feel very powerless um, when it comes to mental health, in that it's controlling me.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're learning here is following intuition, being self aware, um, active listening toward ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
in that we can become more powerful and less powerless.
I totally see that. Well, it would, in terms of self awareness, true mind body connection is even
Mhm.
assessing what's going on for me right now.
Yes.
I can absolutely see the cultivating, fostering intuition would be us tapping into that more and more and more,
Mhm.
Right.
which would help us understand, what am I feeling emotionally, physically, psychologically, all the things. I could see how intuition would also help us gain a self-awareness of how we're showing up in certain moments too. That's that building of trust of us in what we're surrounded with in any given moment.
Yep.
That I would think that building trust with ourselves would lead to greater satisfaction, maybe increased confidence. We've said that a couple times on the
Mhm.
show. And maybe even long-term fulfillment. You know, you two great examples of when I trusted my intuition and it worked out.
Mhm.
There might be times where we've trusted intuition and it hasn't worked out totally how we thought it would, but how, think of the satisfaction and fulfillment that comes from leaning into something that's really fearful
Yeah.
and then rewarding afterwards.
Yeah.
I think of how it would help with conflict resolution, with communication skills. You know, if your confidence improved. I mean, there are so many things. Yeah, your management styles, like all of the things.
Yeah, it
Um,
go ahead.
I think that, like, when we were talking about in terms of mental health too, it's
Mhm.
like a lot of mental health focuses on getting away from, like, how do I get away from these symptoms? How do I
Yep.
get away from feeling like this?
Mm,
Intuition is helping us decide what to go towards.
Right. To sit in
So
it.
instead of
that's a great
like
way to describe it.
actively running away from something,
Mhm.
which is more of a fear-based response, intuition pushes us towards what we do want.
Mhm.
And that is, kind of how you find the path that's going to take you towards self-awareness
Right.
and what you want out of life.
Well, great way to
There you
describe it.
go.
Well, I'm going to give you one of the last questions then. How do you use intuition to set boundaries with others? Because you made me think about boundaries just there.
What made you think about boundaries? I need to
When you
say
mentioned,
more.
I need a sentence starter.
Yeah.
when you mentioned what you want and what
Mm.
you're moving toward,
Mm.
I can imagine that it means that you're thinking about, what do I need from whatever this thing is? And what do I need maybe from somebody else?
Okay. Yeah. Well, for me personally,
And you're a boundaries person. You were on our boundaries show.
yeah, that's true. And, it's funny you mentioned that, because my struggle with boundaries is that I overcommit to things because I want to do all of them. So it's more of a seeking rather than an avoidance. But boundaries and intuition, how I see that playing out for me personally, is kind of understanding when something isn't for me. Like,
Mm.
if someone asks me to do something that I know I'm not going to enjoy, it's pretty easy for me to just say, no, that's not for me.
Ah.
Or like the number of times I've been invited to an escape room. No,
You
like,
don't even have to know intuition
right,
there.
yeah, no, that one I'm like, I know that's a no.
Yeah.
But it kind of tells me, like, intuition, I would like to think, informs what do I say yes to and what do I know isn't something that's for me.
Yeah, well, you made me think about intuition and boundaries. I think if intuition is telling us messages that help us build a relationship with us,
Mhm.
that offers a capacity to set a boundary in our lives on how to be more of that thing.
Yes.
And
How to be
trust
more
it.
of us and trust it.
Yeah.
So much to think about here. This has been an awesome discussion. We're going to head to a commercial break, but when we come back, we will talk through listener questions. Feels Out Loud will process your thoughts in just a moment.
You gotta find your people.
We are back again with Feels Out Loud, and this part of the show is where we talk through questions from you all, our beautiful listeners. If you have a question related to mental wellness, sharing feelings, or topics for each week that you would like us to process through, please visit our website at becomingtogethermn.com and find the Feels Out Loud page to submit a question directly, or email us at contact@becomingtogethermn.com. Of course, follow us on social media as well. We really do want to hear from you and what you are wondering about.
Thank you, listeners, for sending us questions and comments about nurturing intuition. I think this is a new topic for some folks, and one that people were really interested in trying to understand more and grow and develop. So I love that. First listener said, "How can intuition help with self-care or knowing our own limits?" Which actually harkens back to just a few minutes ago when we were talking about boundaries.
Right.
That is, boundaries are an understanding of limits. What would you two say? Robin, you start with, how can intuition help with self-care?
Yeah, I think, kind of like we were talking about with boundaries, and also that mind-body connection of recognizing our limits in a way of, what do you feel? Are you feeling exhausted? Are you feeling drained? Are you feeling like you're losing motivation? And recognizing that not as like a limitation or anything about your abilities, but more about like, what is your capacity right now? And intuitively, you will be told like when to slow down.
Yeah. Yeah, you make me think about maybe intuition would start to tell us when we're approaching those limits before we've surpassed the limits, and would note the physical impact of that.
Right.
Do you have thoughts about that, Tara?
Yeah, I think that as humans, we do a better job listening to our intuition when it comes to big decision making and things like that, or if we're in a situation. But I think when it comes to self-care, I don't think we listen to it as well. So, for example, like if you're at work and it's about workload, which is a universal concept, I think we tend to ignore it more, right? When it comes to self-care and nurturing the balance, I think our intuition is saying, nope, don't take on that new project, or don't take that new client, or whatever it is. And we go, oh, no.
Yeah. Oh,
And
this will be fine.
yeah.
Yeah.
But saying no is a form of self-care,
Mhm.
and creating more of that balance. I think we need to get better at listening to that every day.
Yeah. Well, you bring up such
Intuition.
a good concept here that actually leads to the second question. But you said intuition can be the use of the word no. Intuition might be telling us don't do something. It isn't always saying do something.
Right.
So it might be setting a limit or a boundary. Intuition is telling us that, which is a method, which is what second listener said. They asked, what methods do you use to tune into your intuition and hear that inner voice? And you might be practicing the use of the word no, maybe.
Yes.
Or how does it reflect on a daily basis in self-care? For me, journaling is a great strategy for tuning into my intuition and what my inner voice is saying. Sometimes, as I mentioned in the last segment, the dialogue, I've even written that out. What does logic say? You said pros and cons. Robin, what would you say?
I do like to, that's when, I turn to meditation, whether it's guided or silent or walking, or nature also is a huge component in this, of just going outside and letting yourself be curious and explore, kind of like when you're a kid. And it just kind of starts to come to you in that way. I watched Pocahontas recently, and the song, when she's talking about listening to the wind, and Grandmother Willow is basically like the representation of intuition.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of like, let yourself hear what's going on around you and within you.
Good reference.
And beautiful way to describe, sometimes just literally put yourself in nature. Wow, we're at the end of our show already for today. Thank you for listening this morning, everyone. Join us next week as we process more mental health focused topics. And in the week ahead, be kind to yourself. Remember that connection fosters wellness, and your voice is one that the world around you needs to hear. Share yourselves, friends.
We fall, we get back up.